Forests have always had a strange hold over the human imagination. They are places of beauty and life, but also of mystery, where the canopy hides the sky and every sound feels amplified in the silence. In the UK, the forests carry far more than birdsong and the rustle of leaves. They are heavy with centuries of history, battles fought, lives lost, crimes committed, and tragedies never resolved. Over the years, locals have spoken of strange lights moving between the trees, footsteps that follow without a body in sight, and sudden drops in temperature that chill you to the bone. Hikers report hearing their names whispered from the shadows. Some have gone into these forests and never returned. Others emerged pale, shaking, and unable to describe what they saw. Many of these forests stand on land soaked with blood from ancient wars, executions, or even ritual sacrifices. Others are near-forgotten villages wiped out by disease, their residents buried beneath the soil, their spirits restless. The trees have been silent witnesses to every moment, and in their stillness they seem to remember. As night falls, the paths become mazes. Every rustle feels closer. Every shadow feels alive. And when you walk alone, the darkness feels as though it is watching you. Tonight, we are venturing deep into these dark woodlands. These are not places for the faint of heart. From ancient royal hunting grounds to remote rural thickets that have claimed countless lives, we're counting down the top 10 most haunted forests in the UK. Each one carries a reputation that has lasted for generations, and each one has its own terrifying stories to tell. Stay with me, keep your eyes open, and whatever you do, resist the urge to step off the path. Because in these forests, something might be waiting for you in the dark. Number 1. Epping Forest, Essex. Epping Forest is one of the UK's most notorious haunted woodlands, and it is easy to see why. Sprawling over 5,900 acres, it has been a hiding place, a dumping ground, and a silent witness to centuries of human darkness. Located between London and Essex, this forest has a history that reads like a crime novel. Highwaymen, gangsters, murder victims, and desperate fugitives have all found their way here. In the 1700s, the infamous highwayman Dick Turpin used Epping Forest as his base. Locals claim his ghost still rides through the trees on horseback, the sound of hooves echoing through the stillness. Some have reported seeing a shadowy rider flash past before vanishing into thin air. The forest also gained a grim reputation in the 20th century as a dumping ground for victims of gangland killings. Several bodies were discovered hidden among the dense undergrowth, and to this day nighttime visitors say they feel watched, as if someone or something is following them through the trees. Paranormal investigators have captured strange lights flickering deep within the forest, cold spots that appear without warning, and whispers picked up on audio equipment when no one was near. Hikers have described sudden waves of dread washing over them in certain clearings, forcing them to turn back before reaching their destination. One chilling story tells of a man walking his dog who saw a woman in Victorian clothing standing by an old oak tree. She was staring directly at him. He blinked and she was gone. His dog refused to go near the spot, growling and whining until they left. Locals advise never to walk here alone after dark. The forest seems to come alive at night. Branches sway when there's no wind. Shapes flit between the trees. And every so often you might hear footsteps on the path behind you, but when you turn, there's no one there. If Epping Forest teaches anything, it's this. Some places never forget the violence and secrets buried within them. And in this forest, the past still walks among the living. Number 2. Wickwood Forest, Oxfordshire. Wickwood Forest is one of England's oldest and most mysterious woodlands, with roots stretching back to ancient Saxon times. It once spanned much of Oxfordshire, serving as royal hunting grounds, but today only fragments remain. What's left, however, is enough to carry an atmosphere so heavy with history and superstition that it unsettles even the most seasoned hikers. The forest's most famous ghost is Amy Robsart, the wife of Robert Dudley, Earl of Leicester and a close confidant of Queen Elizabeth I. Amy died under suspicious circumstances in 1560, her neck broken, her body found at the foot of a staircase. Many believed she was murdered so her husband could pursue the Queen. Since her death, her restless spirit has been tied to Wickwood. Witnesses describe a pale woman dressed in old-fashioned clothing appearing suddenly along the forest paths. Those who see her say she approaches silently, locking eyes with an unnerving, mournful stare. Then she vanishes into thin air, but the encounter comes with a curse. Folklore warns that anyone who meets her will suffer a tragedy or die within days. This legend has been passed down for generations, and some locals swear it's claimed lives. Wickwood also hides other spectral figures. Horse-drawn coaches have been spotted racing silently through the trees before disappearing into the night. Disembodied voices whisper among the leaves, especially in the early morning fog. Visitors often report hearing the rhythmic crunch of footsteps keeping pace with their own, only to stop dead when they stop and resume when they start walking again. At night, the forest feels especially oppressive. The canopy blocks out most moonlight, creating near-complete darkness. The wind carries strange, low moans, and the air seems to thicken as if the forest itself is aware of your presence. Paranormal teams have captured unexplained cold drafts, shadowy shapes crossing their path, and faint screams recorded in the background of audio equipment. For centuries, Wickwood has been a place of royal hunts, local legends and whispered curses. But among all its stories, one truth remains constant. Those who walk here after sunset often leave convinced they were not alone. Whether you believe in ghosts or not, Wickwood Forest demands respect. Number 3. Wisman's Wood, Devon. Deep in the heart of Dartmoor National Park lies Wisman's Wood, a small yet otherworldly grove that feels more like something from a nightmare than from the English countryside. The forest is made up of ancient, stunted oak trees, their twisted limbs tangled with moss and lichen. The rocks beneath are slick with damp, and mist often drifts between the trunks, muffling sound and giving the whole place an unnatural stillness. Local legends say Wisman's Wood has been cursed for centuries. In medieval times, it was believed to be home to the wished hounds, ghostly black dogs with burning red eyes that roamed the moors at night, hunting for lost souls. Their master, the devilish figure known as the huntsman, was said to stalk the forest on stormy nights, driving the hounds onward with an unholy horn. Those who encountered the pack often vanished without a trace. Visitors today still report strange experiences. Some say they've heard the baying of hounds in the distance, even when no animals are nearby. Others have caught glimpses of large, shadowy figures slipping between the trees, moving with a speed and silence no human could match. The forest floor is treacherous, with deep gaps between moss-covered boulders, and there are countless tales of people tripping or falling after feeling an unseen force shove them from behind. Wisman's Wood is also tied to ancient pagan rituals. Archaeologists have found evidence suggesting that Druids may have used the site for ceremonies and sacrifices. Some hikers claim to have stumbled upon crude stone circles hidden among the trees, sometimes with offerings of feathers, coins, or animal bones placed in the center. Whether these are remnants of old traditions or signs of modern occult activity is unclear, but they only add to the unease. The oppressive atmosphere is one of the most reported sensations here. Even in daylight, the canopy traps shadows, and the air feels heavy and damp. Birds rarely sing inside the grove, and when the wind passes through, it produces a low, almost human moan. On misty evenings, the wood becomes nearly impossible to navigate, and those who linger too long speak of time feeling distorted, as though hours pass in minutes or minutes in hours. Wisman's Wood is small compared to other haunted forests, yet it holds a fear that's far larger than its size. Locals warn against entering after dark. Once night falls, the moors stretch endlessly in every direction, and the only sounds you might hear are the pounding of phantom paws and the whisper of branches above you. Number 4. Pucklay Woods, Kent. Near the quiet village of Pucklay in Kent, often called the most haunted village in England, lies a stretch of woodland that the locals speak of in hushed tones. While the village itself boasts more than a dozen ghost stories, Pucklay Wood seems to gather all of that energy into one shadow-choked, unsettling place. Officially it's known as Deering Woods, but most people here call it the Screaming Woods, and that name is no exaggeration. The legend goes back centuries. Travelers passing through at night reported hearing piercing screams echoing through the trees, even when they were entirely alone. Some believe these cries belonged to villagers who had gotten lost and perished in the woods, their spirits forever calling out for help. Others swore they were the sounds of the murdered souls who had been taken into the forest by highwaymen, never to return. The strange part is, even in the 21st century, people still hear them. Local hikers have told stories of entering the woods in broad daylight and feeling an immediate drop in temperature. Some say the air grows so still that not even the leaves move, and then, out of nowhere, a blood-curdling scream tears through the silence. Sometimes it's distant, sometimes it's right next to you, and when you turn to look, there's no one there. The sound has been described as human, but other times more animalistic, like something caught between a howl and a wail. Adding to the terror, there are countless reports of people going missing here. Search parties have been called for hikers who wander in and never come out, only for their bodies to be found weeks later deep in the forest, sometimes in places search teams had already combed. In some cases, the cause of death is never determined, and the victims' faces are said to be frozen in expressions of pure horror. Many paranormal investigators have braved the woods overnight, and their accounts are disturbing. Cameras have captured sudden bursts of static, unexplainable orbs of light, and in one chilling case, the faint outline of a figure standing completely still between the trees for hours before vanishing. EVP's recordings of spirit voices have picked up whispers in both English and an older, almost medieval dialect, often repeating the words "leave" or "help me." Locals have long advised staying out of the forest after sunset, claiming the spirits grow restless at night. Some even believe the woods are a crossing point between the living and the dead, a thin spot where the barrier between worlds weakens. If you're unlucky enough to be there when it happens, you might hear footsteps following you, see a figure dart across the path ahead, or feel a cold hand brush the back of your neck. And then there are the trees themselves. Some are scarred with deep, unnatural gouges that no animal native to the area could have made. Others grow at odd angles, forming arches that feel almost like gateways, and stepping through them often comes with an overpowering sense that you've entered a place you were never meant to find. They call it the Screaming Woods for a reason. Most who hear the screams swear they'll never go back. But every year a few curious souls decide to test their luck. Not all of them return. Number 5. Forest of Dean, Gloucestershire. The Forest of Dean may look like something out of a fairy tale during the day, ancient oaks, winding trails, and shafts of golden sunlight filtering through the leaves. But when darkness falls, the forest becomes something entirely different. For centuries, locals have whispered of strange lights moving between the trees, ghostly figures that vanish when approached, and an unsettling presence that seems to watch you from the shadows. The first recorded hauntings date back to the medieval era, when the forest was a royal hunting ground. Poachers caught here were often hanged on the spot, their bodies left dangling from the trees as a warning. Some believe those restless souls still roam among the branches, their faces pale and twisted in moonlight. Walkers have claimed to see phantom figures hanging in midair, swaying gently as if caught by an invisible noose. But the Forest of Dean's most chilling story involves the Minders, ghostly guardians said to protect the forest's deepest parts. Miners who once worked the nearby iron and coal seam spoke of encountering shadowy shapes underground that would later follow them above ground. These Minders were described as tall, cloaked forms with no faces, who would silently observe intruders and sometimes block their path until they turned back. Even today, night hikers have reported seeing these dark figures standing completely still at crossroads in the woods, disappearing the moment you blink. Then there's the phenomenon of the phantom lights. For generations, travelers crossing the forest at night have seen glowing orbs weaving between the trees. Some appear blue or green, others bright white. Folklore says these are the spirits of lost wanderers trying to guide the living to safety or lure them deeper into danger. Several missing persons cases have been linked to people following the lights and vanishing without a trace. Modern paranormal investigators have recorded temperature drops of more than 10 degrees in certain hot spots within seconds. In one infamous incident, a camera crew attempting to film a documentary in the forest had all their equipment fail simultaneously, batteries drained, lights flickered, and audio recorders captured what sounded like heavy breathing behind them, though no one was there. The locals have a rule: never walk alone in the Forest of Dean after sundown, and never answer if you hear your name whispered from the darkness. It's said that those who do are never seen again. If the Forest of Dean is a place where legends cling to every tree trunk, our next location carries a different kind of terror, one tied not only to ghosts, but to something far stranger. Because while some forests are haunted by the dead, others seem to draw the attention of things not entirely human. Number 6. Ashdown Forest, East Sussex. Ashdown Forest may be known today as the inspiration behind A. Milne's Winnie the Pooh, but beneath its quaint charm lies a much older, darker history. Stretching across East Sussex, the forest was once a royal hunting ground, and for centuries it has been a place where travelers feared to tread after sundown. The dense woodland, the twisting paths, and the deep, echoing silence set the stage for encounters that defy explanation. Locals whisper of highwaymen who once prowled these roads, their spirits said to linger long after their violent deaths. Some claim to have seen shadowy figures on horseback emerging from the fog, cloaked riders with no faces, galloping across the heath before vanishing into thin air. Others describe the sound of hooves pounding along the dirt tracks, though no horses are ever seen. One of the most chilling stories involves the ghostly form of a horseman who appears on stormy nights. Witnesses describe him dressed in dark riding clothes, his features hidden beneath a wide-brimmed hat. He is said to approach travelers silently, only to disappear before their eyes or worse, pass straight through them as if they were nothing but air. But it isn't only horsemen who haunt Ashdown Forest. Visitors often report eerie whispers drifting through the trees, voices calling names, or hushed conversations in the dark when no one else is near. Some say these are the voices of the murdered, victims of bandits and outlaws whose blood once stained the forest floor. Others believe they are remnants of ancient rituals tied to the land itself, long before the stories of highwaymen took root. Campers have described waking in the middle of the night to the sound of movement circling their tents. Twigs snapping. Breathing just beyond the canvas walls. When they finally look outside, nothing is there, only the endless shadows between the trees. Ashdown Forest lures in the curious, the hikers and the casual explorers, but those who venture too far from the beaten path often come back with tales of dread. The whispers, the riders, the unseen presences, they all point to one terrifying truth. This forest is far more than a children's storybook landscape. It is a place where history bleeds into the present, where the restless dead refuse to be forgotten. So, if you ever walk beneath the tangled canopy of Ashdown Forest, remember you may not be walking alone. Number 7. Sherwood Forest, Nottinghamshire. When most people hear the name Sherwood Forest, they think of Robin Hood, merry outlaws and tales of adventure. But beyond the cheerful legends lies a much darker history, one that locals and paranormal investigators whisper about but seldom advertise to tourists. This ancient forest, stretching across the heart of Nottinghamshire, has seen over 1,000 years of human history. And with that history comes layers of violence, betrayal, and death that have left their mark in ways that go far beyond folklore. The forest is massive, with oak trees so old they've stood since before the Norman conquest. Some are hollow, their gaping interiors big enough to hide a full-grown man or something else. The famous major oak, often linked to Robin Hood, is said to be more than 800 years old. By day it is a wonder of nature. By night, some say it becomes a sentinel of the dead, its enormous branches groaning like an old ship as unseen figures move in the darkness beneath it. Locals speak of the Sherwood shadows, human-like silhouettes that glide between the trees without making a sound. Witnesses report hearing low murmurs in the distance, voices too faint to make out, but persistent enough to draw you deeper into the forest. Sometimes the murmurs are replaced by the sound of galloping hooves, yet no horses appear. Hunters, hikers, and even seasoned rangers have admitted to fleeing after hearing these sounds. One of the most disturbing stories comes from the area known as Hangman's Tree. Centuries ago, criminals were executed here, their bodies left hanging as a warning to others. Those who wander near at night often claim to see swaying figures high above, even when the branches are still. Some even swear they felt a rope tighten around their neck, only for the sensation to vanish when they stumble backward in terror. Sherwood also has its fair share of ghostly soldiers. During the English Civil War, skirmishes spilled into the woods, leaving many dead and unburied. People have reported spectral troops marching through the mist, their armor clanking softly before they fade into nothing. One hiker recalled seeing a man in tattered 17th-century clothing step out from behind a tree, look him dead in the eyes, and then simply dissolve into the air. The forest's energy changes sharply after sundown. The cheerful tourist trails feel wrong, too quiet, too still. The air grows colder, the trees seem to lean in, and the darkness between the trunks feels thicker than it should. Even without seeing an apparition, most who walk alone here at night describe the same sensation, being watched by something that does not want them there. Sherwood Forest will always be tied to the romantic tales of Robin Hood. But if you peel back that layer of legend, you find a place steeped in death, superstition, and lingering spirits, a place where the past walks beside you in the shadows, whether you choose to believe in ghosts or not. From the storied woods of Nottinghamshire, we now move to a place where nature itself seems twisted by something malevolent, a forest so cursed that even seasoned hikers hesitate to enter. Number 8. Cannock Chase, Staffordshire. Leaving the history-laden oaks of Sherwood behind, we travel into the rolling hills and dense woodlands of Cannock Chase in Staffordshire, a place widely regarded as one of the most haunted landscapes in all of England. On the surface, it's an area of natural beauty, dotted with walking trails and picnic spots. But beneath that calm exterior lurks a history drenched in tragedy, murder, and sightings so disturbing they've drawn the attention of paranormal investigators from around the world. Cannock Chase has a dark reputation that spans decades. In the 1960s, the area was shaken by the murders of 3 young girls, whose bodies were buried in shallow graves within the forest. Even today, locals speak of hearing faint giggles or seeing fleeting glimpses of children darting between the trees, only for the figures to vanish when approached. Many believe these are the restless spirits of those murdered children, forever trapped in the place where their lives were stolen. But the hauntings here go far beyond human ghosts. Cannock Chase is infamous for sightings of the so-called black-eyed children, pale, gaunt figures with empty jet-black eyes who appear on misty evenings. Witnesses describe them standing motionless at the edge of the path, staring silently, or slowly walking toward people without making a sound. Those who have encountered them say the feeling of dread is overwhelming, and that looking into those unnatural eyes is like staring into something utterly inhuman. The forest is also tied to World War II history. Cannock Chase housed prisoner-of-war camps, and many soldiers were buried here. Nighttime visitors report seeing uniformed figures wandering among the trees, their faces half lit by moonlight, only to fade away when approached. The sound of marching boots and muffled German voices has been heard by campers in the dead of night. And then there's the Lady of Cannock Chase, a ghostly woman dressed in white who is said to glide silently across the heathland. Some say she beckons to the living, drawing them deeper into the forest until they become disoriented and lost. Others believe she is a death omen, appearing before tragic accidents or mysterious disappearances. Animal activity in the area is strange as well. Deer have been found mutilated in ways that hunters and wildlife experts struggle to explain. There are even urban legends about something non-human stalking the forest, a chase beast described as part wolf, part man, that reportedly prowls on misty nights. Walking through Cannock Chase after dark is not for the faint-hearted. The shadows here feel thicker, the silence heavier. And if you stay too long in one spot, it's not unusual to hear the sound of twigs snapping right behind you, only to turn and find nothing there. Number 9. Savernake Forest, Wiltshire. From the haunted paths of Cannock Chase, we journey southwest into the sprawling ancient beauty of Savernake Forest in Wiltshire, a woodland that has been continuously inhabited and worked for over 1,000 years. On a sunny afternoon, Savernake feels like an idyllic escape, with its towering beech trees and winding trails. But as the light fades, this forest transforms into something far older, stranger, and darker than most dare to imagine. Savernake has long been connected to druidic rituals, ancient burial grounds, and mysterious earthworks. Beneath its soil lie traces of prehistoric settlements, and over the centuries, layers of history have piled upon each other, from Iron Age tribes to medieval hunters to soldiers during the English Civil War. This deep past is said to have left an energy in the land, one that sensitive visitors claim they can feel in their bones. The most famous specter here is the Blue Lady of Savernake. Witnesses describe a tall woman dressed in a flowing, pale blue gown, often seen standing silently among the trees or walking along the Great Avenue, the forest's most famous tree-lined path. She never speaks, but those who've seen her up close say her expression is one of deep sorrow. Local legend claims she was a noble woman betrayed by her lover and left to die in the forest centuries ago. Some say her presence brings misfortune, especially to those who try to follow her. Then there are the ghostly riders. Savernake was once a royal hunting ground, and several visitors have reported the sound of galloping hooves approaching fast, only for no horse or rider to appear. At night, muffled voices and the metallic clink of armor have been heard, as though a ghostly hunting party is still chasing its quarry through the mist. Stranger still are the reports of glowing orbs that drift through the forest after dark. These lights have been seen weaving between the trees or hovering over ancient mounds before disappearing without a sound. Skeptics blame swamp gas or fireflies, but locals insist the lights are tied to the forest's spiritual history, perhaps even the souls of those buried beneath the moss and roots. One unsettling feature of Savernake is the silence. Even in daylight, there are pockets of the forest where birdsong stops and the air feels unnaturally still. Visitors stepping into these zones often describe feeling watched, as if unseen eyes are tracking them from the shadows. On foggy evenings, shapes seem to move between the trees, sometimes too tall and too fast to be human. Adding to its eerie atmosphere, Savernake has no public right-of-way, meaning the forest is privately owned. This gives it an even more isolated, secretive feel. Only those with permission can roam here after dark, and those who have said the forest's personality changes completely once the sun is gone. Trails you walk in daylight seem unfamiliar and twisted, and the sound of footsteps behind you becomes far more noticeable. Wiltshire's shadowed groves, our final destination, takes us north to one of the UK's most notoriously cursed woodlands, a place where paranormal sightings, disappearances, and whispered tales of the occult have given it a fearsome reputation among both locals and investigators. Number 10, Rendlesham Forest, Suffolk. Leaving behind the private and brooding Savernake, we arrive in Suffolk at one of the most infamous forests in all of the UK, Rendlesham Forest. While most haunted woodlands owe their reputation to ghostly legends centuries old, Rendlesham's most chilling story comes from the not-so-distant past. It's a place where the line between the paranormal and the unexplained blurs, and where even hardened skeptics leave with more questions than answers. Rendlesham first made headlines in late December 1980, when multiple U.S. Air Force personnel stationed at nearby RAF Woodbridge reported strange lights descending into the forest. Over the course of several nights, trained military witnesses described glowing orbs moving between the trees, beams of light shining down from above, and a metallic, triangular craft resting silently on the forest floor. Physical traces were found of scorched earth, broken branches, and unusual radiation readings. To this day, it's considered Britain's most famous UFO encounter, often called Britain's Roswell. But Rendlesham's strangeness didn't begin or end with that incident. Long before the 1980 events, locals whispered about the forest being a place of bad luck and strange happenings. People reported hearing disembodied footsteps pacing in the darkness, whispers that seemed to come from the branches above, and sudden, oppressive feelings of dread that would vanish just as quickly as they arrived. Some visitors have seen ghostly figures in military uniforms walking silently among the trees. Others have encountered a tall, shadowy figure that reportedly emerges from the undergrowth before disappearing into thin air. There are even claims of an unseen force that pushes or tugs at people as they walk the narrow trails, as though trying to guide or drive them toward a particular location. Adding to the unease, electronic devices have a habit of malfunctioning here. Cameras stop working, phone batteries drain in minutes, and compasses behave erratically. Paranormal researchers suggest the forest has an energy that interferes with electronics. Skeptics suggest magnetic anomalies. But those who've experienced it firsthand say there's nothing natural about the way Rendlesham affects both people and machines. The forest also has its own share of ghost stories tied to much older history. Some claim to have seen spectral monks wandering through the fog, possibly linked to nearby religious sites from centuries past. Others speak of strange animal apparitions, black dogs with glowing eyes that stalk the forest's edge before vanishing into the mist. At night, the atmosphere changes completely. The rustle of leaves becomes unnervingly loud, the darkness between the trees feels thicker than anywhere else, and every sound seems to come from just behind you. People who venture deep into Rendlesham after sunset often describe the same sensation, being watched. Not by one pair of eyes, but by many from every direction. Whether you believe in UFOs, ghosts, or simply the power of suggestion, Rendlesham Forest holds an undeniable place in British paranormal history. It's a place where the unexplained is not just a story told around campfires, it's something that has been documented, investigated, and still refuses to be solved. And with Rendlesham's chilling mix of ghostly apparitions and extraterrestrial mystery, we close our journey through the UK's most haunted forests. But our exploration doesn't end here. If you enjoyed this journey into the haunted heart of the UK, make sure you like this video, share it with your fellow thrill seekers, subscribe and leave a comment telling us your own eerie forest experiences or the places you'd like us to investigate next. Your story might be the one we feature in a future episode. And if you're brave enough to visit any of these places yourself, don't forget to take a friend or at least someone you trust to keep watch while you sleep. Because in these forests, the night has eyes.